This rally serves as a reminder that the states of racism and classism in Marin are evident. Look around the posters that are held up. These posters tell many stories that are often untold and often unowned. We are in the Canal neighborhood, the product of racism in Marin. This Canal neighborhood, the community that had raised and cared for me, along with our Southern Marin brothers and sisters in Marin City, and the thousands of other working class families who provide the back-breaking work to maintain Marin's beauty and affluence, are often left on the sidelines of the decision-making process while we are left to accept our conditions and remain invisible. Today we are not invisible. Today we will not be silent. We will no longer be on the sidelines just hoping that someone speaks for us. Today I encourage you to demand a place on the table. Let's find our allies, build our relationships and partnerships, and to work towards common solutions to a very common problem that is coded under the term local control, aka Nimby-ism. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and again, thank you for coming out this evening. We appreciate the gathering. My name is Philip Thomas. I am a county employee with the Communications Department. We service the police, fire, and emergency services, making sure that when you call for 911, someone actually picks up and responds. I'm here today to just make a simple statement. I'm a Marin County employee. I make what most of us would consider a decent salary, but I cannot afford to buy a home here in Marin County. I just find that very interesting. I have to live in Solano County where the cost of living is much lower. So what I just wanted to say is that if the employees who work for the residents of this county cannot afford to live in this county, what does that mean for everyone else? I mean, I have to travel 45 minutes to get here, a 30-mile commute. It's pollution, extra gas, wear and tear on my vehicle, extra time I have to spend away from my family. I would like to live in Marin. I think Marin is a beautiful community, but unfortunately, I can't afford to. So that's what I have to say. Thank you very much for being here, and I will turn the microphone back over.
Thank you. Thanks for a few minutes here. I'm an attorney, but I'm going to try to keep it short. My name is David Levin. I've been lucky enough to be a resident and living with my family in Marin County over 15 years now. And just want to say there's a lot of people in Marin who are in favor of affordable housing and recognize the severe problem and are working for solutions. And my daytime job is a housing attorney for Bay Area Legal Aid. And so want to talk about a couple important laws that are involved in a lot of these issues here. We hear a lot about local control, but as mentioned before, that's really often just a code word for trying to obstruct these laws that require every city, every jurisdiction in California has to work towards supplying its fair share of affordable housing because it's good for the environment, it's good for seniors, it's good for families. It's good for all of us, and that's why we should all be talking about finding the solutions. The housing element law provides for local solutions. Each local community is supposed to come up with its own ways of solving and providing the affordable housing. These laws were passed by the legislature in Sacramento. They were signed by the governor. These are the laws, and there's a lot of people inside here may not like these laws, but it's our job to make sure that people in Marin, the jurisdictions, follow the laws, provide the affordable housing required. Besides the housing element, there's another important set of laws involved here, and already mentioned fair housing laws. And those are laws signed in Washington, D.C. and by the president. There's also good fair housing laws in California that make discrimination illegal. Not even just intentional discrimination, but actions that have the effect of discriminating, even if not intentional, those are illegal under fair housing laws. And these are fair housing laws that go back to the 1960s, originally passed after the death of Dr. Martin Luther King. There's literally people gave their lives for these laws. So these are very important laws. And again, it's our job to make sure that the affordable housing problem and the connection between fair housing and affordable housing is recognized here.
Good evening. Thank you. It's great to stand in somebody's front yard. Pickleweed, thanks so very, very much. I really feel privileged to be here. I'm excited to see those of you who are standing with us on behalf of making Marin a more welcoming community. I particularly wanted to thank the young people that have come out as well, because it's your future that we are working for. Thank you all. You know, I know that there are laws and there are policies and there are regional governments and local governments, but you know, all of that is just part of the story. The real issue is, do we have the will to be a welcoming community? Do we have it in our souls to understand the power and the strength that diversity brings to a community? Everywhere on earth, the ecosystems is expanded through diversity. It survives through diversity. Sustainability depends upon diversity, and we as a community are no different. So I'm here tonight with each of you to say that we can find room. We want to see Marin County make opportunities for all of us. It's really a matter of justice. It's a matter of equal opportunity, and it's a matter that needs to be attended to. Keep love in your hearts. Do not be afraid of fear, but let's work through it. We have the way. This group here stands with me. I believe we have the will. Let's make it happen. Thank you very much.
And now, Dan Daniels of the NAACP. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here. My name's Dan Daniels. I am the area director for the oldest civil rights organization in America, the NAACP. The NAACP was founded in 1909 by a group of black and white citizens who were concerned with lynching. Because back then, in 1909, they lynched a black man every day somewhere in America. I'm hoping that things have changed. I moved to Marin in 1980, okay, and when I moved here, they did something what was called steering, okay? The first apartment I looked at, or I called, was in Tiburon. When I called on the phone, they said that this apartment was available for $1,200 a month. When I arrived at the management office, suddenly that apartment went to $1,400 a month. I decided not to move there. Then I decided I would move to Larkspur Landing. So I found a lovely apartment in Larkspur, okay? Even though there was some confusion around how much they wanted once they saw what I looked like. But eventually I took the apartment. After we moved in is when I realized they did something that was called steering. Okay, after I moved in that apartment complex, I realized that everyone in that entire complex that looked like me was in the back. Okay, now what we have here, I'm hoping this is not the same thing, where they want to steer minorities into where they feel you should be. This is America. When I moved to Marin County, I wanted to establish myself as a garden variety American. And what I mean by that, if you look at any garden, you're going to have every color within that garden. And it is time for this county to become more welcoming. Now, I do hope we go into this meeting, okay? Because I do believe there are some people in that meeting that are not racist, that are not bigoted. They are just uneducated. Okay, and so what I'm happy to see is this crowd here to go in and help educate those people, because at one point, if anybody in this crowd may need some low-income housing. Okay, any one of us at one point in our life could be where we need help in finding housing, and it should be here. They announced today that Marin County was one of the healthiest counties in America. So let's end this discrimination, any form of discrimination. Let's come to the table and figure out what it is we need to do. So again, I want to thank you guys for having me here, and I'm happy to see all the faces that are here. And also, I brought with me, a lot of you don't know that the NAACP is known as the big dog. And one of the reasons we're known as the big dog is because we have been the eyes and ears of America since 1909. We have been on the forefront watching what has occurred. And I'm here to let you know that we are still here. And so going back to our big dog, okay, now the reason we're known as a big dog, now I'm an animal lover, but if you live in a house and you got a little small dog and somebody comes in there and decides they want to take what you have, then they can kick that little dog aside. But I'm telling you, the big dog is here. And we walk around with great big dogs. And so, because America's scared of big dogs. You look at what's going on in China. America's not doing anything to China. China's a big dog. Okay? You got Korea roughing its feathers. I don't see us jumping in there doing anything there. Korea's a big dog. Okay? Pakistan, they have a nuclear weapon. They're a big dog. Well, I'm telling you here today that the NAACP is here watching this and seeing what happened, and we are your big dog.
Thank you. I'm proud to be here, and particularly I'm a homeowner in San Rafael, so I should be part of these neighborhood groups that we know about. And the irony is that we're here in the canal, and this is exactly the kind of community that many of the folks in those neighborhood groups don't want. And are folks afraid here? Is this like something we don't want? Is there something wrong with this place? Obviously, everyone in these apartments would love to have a 6,000 square foot house like Bob Silvestri writes about in his book, with a yard and solar panels. They'd all love that. But financially and economically, the way our country's set up, that ain't going to happen for quite a while. What I want to talk about briefly, and I want to speak particularly, if they're listening on the margins, to the folks from these neighborhood associations who are here, because I spent quite a bit of time researching them. And they don't have tenants, they're homeowners. The one up in Nevada, their main goal is to preserve the housing values. That's on their website. Preserve the housing values. You don't see social justice goals on their websites. The Marinwood, Save Marinwood website has this incredible picture of 8 kids living in a trailer in Missouri. You can check it out. It's on the home page of the website, and essentially implies that that's what's in store for Marinwood, Lucas Valley area. It's frightening. We've gone long beyond the day back when I started doing civil rights work 50, 60 years ago, where people were overtly racist. People will never say overtly racist things anymore. But if you read between the lines and the little yellow flyer that if you didn't get one, you should make copies of these and give them to anybody that you see, because that's exactly how they speak. And the final thing I wanted to say, particularly because Bob Silvestri is an interesting guy, and I second the comments of everyone else. We need to listen and learn. This is a very smart guy. He's not off the wall. He's got some interesting ideas. One of the problems is he's collected around him some people who are really questionable in terms of what their motives are. But one of the things he wants to do that I'm willing to ally with him on, he likes Section 8s for everyone who needs them in this country. That's one way to get rid of this closeted kind of housing that we have. You give money to people so they can rent anywhere. The problem with Bob Silvestri, and you'll hear it tonight, is that his solutions are so politically unfeasible right now, even if they make some sense. But he wants to say, let's not do housing, for affordable housing for people now. when it's possible, and as David Levin pointed out, there are all these laws that make it a requirement. So one of the things he does is raise the minimum wage, do all of these wonderful things that politically are just not feasible. You need a minimum wage of about $28 or $35 an hour to live in Marin. As one of the speakers said, with a relatively good job, he couldn't even get a place to live in Marin. More than that. So anyway, let's listen and be courteous inside. There's a dialogue, and as someone said, there are some good people that are sort of over on the other side, supposedly. We need to win them over. This should not become a catfight. Thank you.
I started as a civic and political activist about 27 years ago, and in the late 80s, I was the chair of the board of the Santa Fe Housing Corporation, and while that may sound like a housing developer, it was actually a nonprofit organization advocating for affordable housing. And with all the dozens of boards I've been on and all the things I've done in the 27 years since, I've never given up my advocacy for affordable housing. It's so important. We did things like institute Affordable Housing Week and tours of affordable housing complexes in Marin, specifically to dispel the myth that affordable housing complexes lower nearby property values. They don't. I also want to make a point about language and inflammatory rhetoric. A lot of people say that we shouldn't be using words like racist and NIMBY. That gets them really worked up and they really take offense and they really get upset about it. Well, how about phrases like stack and pack and housing projects and those people? Well, these are among the code phrases which, as was just said, you should be wary of.
We've had this kind of issue in Napa County, which is why I'm here to put my 2 cents worth in. I think the main thing I want to leave you with is that this whole paranoia, conspiracy idea that somehow people like Carol Brandt think, oh, we're out to chase them out of their single-family houses into stack and pack apartments. Well, there's a lot of people that need apartments. Anyway, I just wanted to make a point that a lot of these folks are simply off base, and they see a conspiracy where none exists. There are people that see a conspiracy. There's supposedly things like Plan Bay Area and the ABAG requirements are part of the global conspiracy by the UN, Agenda 21, which I would add was actually started in the 80s in parts of Florida and actually in Marin County and some other parts of the Bay Area. If anybody's ever heard of Peter Calthorpe, he was one of the original instigators. Anyway, the John Birch Society still exists for those older folks that remember them. They're the ones that called President Eisenhower a Pico fellow traveler. And I think part of the scheme, the Koch brothers, I don't know if it's how...
I just want to say that there is a difference between thinking you're a racist and supporting policies that promote racism. There's a difference between being a global warming denier and supporting policies that are going to have that canal flooding this area if we don't do something about affordable housing. And I think that's a good perspective, because I know many of the folks in there are far from racist. However, the policies that Marin promotes have that effect. They have an effect of keeping poor people out. Thank you.
So, many women that were born in the late 40s, early 50s, we were discriminated against with all kinds of hiring policies, and as a result, we've been underpaid. A lot of us are underpaid. If I collect Social Security when I'm 70, I'm only going to get $1,300 a month, and that's in 8 years. And that's 76% more than if I collected 62. So I'm going to have to somehow wait until I'm 70 to get the Social Security. And meanwhile, I need affordable housing, and I need it pretty soon. To my knowledge, the county doesn't plan to build any senior/disabled housing anytime soon because of this Nimby-ism that we're all afflicted with. I can't be the only woman in Marin that needs senior housing. Thank you very much.
And that's why we're all here today. Eso porque todos estamos aquí hoy. I do believe that they're starting inside, so feel free to go inside. Thank you so much for being here. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros esta noche. Vamos a seguir adelante. We're going to continue doing this. Esto no va a ser la primera protesta y no va a ser la última. This may be the first, but this is not the last.